Hi everybody, it's Rabbi Basavelli here. I'm sorry I can't be with you in class today, but we're going to try to learn Mishnah Dalet together on this video. So looking forward to trying this out with you. So I want to review what we did yesterday, some very important things. Yesterday we spoke about the three requirements for the materials of schach kasher. In order for schach to be schach kasher, that we learned about three things that have to be true about the materials. Number one, it has to be gidulei karka, something that grows from the ground. So we spoke about plants and we spoke about branches, leaves. All these things are things that grow from the ground, and therefore that makes schach kasher. The second was eino mechubar lakarka. It cannot be attached to the ground. So we spoke about that's the reason why a tree, even though it grows from the ground, but if it's attached to the ground, it can't be schach kasher, and therefore it has to be detached. We have to cut it off before we use it. And the third requirement was eino mikabel tuma. It cannot become tameh. So we spoke about things that can become tameh, like food, clothing, utensils, all can become tameh. In order to use something as chach for the sukkah, it has to be something that cannot become tameh. So we said if you cut off pieces of wood, you just take them off from the tree, they're not finished, they're not made into something, they're not made into things that can be used, they cannot become tameh. So therefore, for example, many of us use bamboo. Bamboo stalks cannot become tameh because they come straight off the tree. Leaves cannot become tameh. However, if I wanted to use an apple, even though it grows from the ground and it's not attached to the ground, but because it can become tameh, it cannot be used as kosher schach for the sukkah. So what I want to do now is I want to begin learning the Mishnah itself, and we'll do our best to figure it out. Okay, so Mishnah Dalet begins. We started learning about it yesterday. Feel free to fill in words in your sheets. We're going to be on page 14 in the Mishnah booklets. Feel free to fill in words on your sheets, translate words as you see fit. So we're going to start with the word hidla. The word hidla means to raise up. So I have, let's say, some vines, which we're going to learn about in a second, that are growing from the ground, and I raise up these vines to put them on top of my sukkah to act as chach. So the Mishnah says, hidla aleha et hagefen vet hadelat vet hakisom v'sikech al gabah psula. So what happens is I have gefen. Gefen is, see if you could point to it, here we go, gefen, and pointing to it here. Gefen refers to grapevines. Vet hadelat, these refer to vines from a gourd, let's say like a pumpkin or a zucchini or something like that. They also have long vines. Vet hakisom, kisom is ivy, like you've heard of poison ivy, so ivy is a general type of vines. So if I take any of these and I pick them up and I put them on top of the sukkah, the word hidla, back to the beginning, the word hidla refers to lift it up. So if I lift up the gefen, the dalat, or the kisom, and I put them on top of the sukkah, just to review, the gefen is the grapevine, dalat is the gourd vine, kisom is the ivy, v'sikech al gabah, and I use it as schach on top of my sukkah, psula, I cannot use it for schach. It is not kasher. Now, can anybody think about why would this be true? Why is it not kasher for schach? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Yes, that's correct. These vines are attached to the ground. You cannot have anything that's attached to the ground. As we learned in our previous slide, anything that's attached to the ground is pasul l'schach, mechubar lakarka. That was our second requirement. In order for schach to be schach kasher, it has to be detached from the ground. It has to be removed from the ground. These cases, the gefen, the dalat, and the kisom, are not kasher because they are attached to the ground. However, the Mishnah gives us two exceptions to the rule. So just to clarify something, we discussed yesterday how psula and kshera are the two din words, right? So I just want to remind you of that. You should make sure you have those two words underlined in your Mishnah. Psula refers to the first mikra. I'll give you some numbers and letters for the mikra to help you, okay? So here we go. Hidla aleha, that's the first mikra, where you raise up these vines and the gourds and the ivy on top of the sukkah. That's the first mikra. The second mikra is broken up into two parts. Now, before we get to exactly what they are, remember it says kshera. So we're going to find out that this mikra is something, or these mikrim, is something that's kshera. They are kasher. So what's the case? So the Mishnah is going to tell us two ways to make these vines that are attached to the ground and on top of my sukkah, two ways to make them kasher. First one, we'll call that 2A, is Vim Haya Sikuch Harbe Mehen. If I have much more kosher schach, meaning schach that's not attached to the ground. It's all mixed together on top of my sukkah. I have these vines, but these vines are mixed together with other schach. So if everything's mixed together and I have more kosher schach than not kosher schach, and it's all mixed together, then the din is kshera, as we have underlined over here. Kshera is going both on 2A and on 2B. So if there was a lot, the sikuch refers to the kosher schach. Harbe means a lot. Mehen means from them, meaning from the vines. So if the kosher schach is a lot more than the non-kosher schach, and it's all mixed together, then it's going to be kasher. 2B is another way to make these vines kasher. What's the other way to make the vines kasher? Kitzatzan. Anybody know what the word kitzatzan means? Lekatzetz? Correct. It means to cut. If I cut the vines, if I make the vines no longer attached to the ground, so then it's going to be kshera, because they're no longer attached. It's not mechubar lakarka anymore, and I've solved the issue of being mechubar lakarka. So if I do either of these two things, either if they're still attached to the ground, but I have a lot more kosher schach than not kosher schach, or alternatively, I cut them so they're no longer attached to the ground, so then the din is kshera. This sukkah is kasher. Now, one extra note, please write this down in your notes, this is very important, that in case 2B, where I cut them, just cutting them by itself is not enough, because there's a rule called ta'aseh velo min ha'asui. So ta'aseh velo min ha'asui, so you can see it here on the board, ta'aseh velo min ha'asui, means that ta'aseh, you have to make the sukkah yourself. Velo min ha'asui, it can't be something that just became a sukkah on its own. If I didn't put the schach there while it is schach kasher, but it became schach kasher afterwards, that's no good, because there's a rule. Ta'aseh velo min ha'asui. When I put the schach there, it has to be kasher. So when I put the vines on top of the sukkah, if they were still attached to the ground, that's no good, because the rule is ta'aseh velo min ha'asui. I have to make it into schach kasher, and not that it is schach kasher by itself, that it became schach kasher on its own. So what do? So the Mishnah said, as we saw before, the Mishnah said in 2B, O shekitzatzan kshera. If I cut them, it's okay. So the answer is that it's not just cutting them. I have to cut them, and then I have to lift them up and down or shake them around a little bit, so that it's as if I just put the schach there now. So again, two things need to happen. Number one, for 2B, number one, I cut them. I cut the things that are attached to the ground. They're no longer attached to the ground. And then the second thing that has to happen for 2B is I have to shake them around a little bit or pick them up and down, so that it's not a problem of ta'aseh velo min ha'asui. Okay, I want to explore the second half of the Mishnah with you now. Maybe we'll do that on the next video.